It is 10:19 at night, so like it's a little bit later than I would like to be coming to you guys, but tomorrow's a weird day. Um, in that I have just signed myself up for something that I did not need to do, but just know that I'm a good friend, and that is why I'm about to be suffering the way I'm about to suffer. So I just agreed, not even agreed. I signed myself up for this. I'm gonna say I agreed, but I agreed to buddy read A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon with the bestie Aaron. Um, Aaron has been trying to read this for a second, like maybe a couple of days at this point. It's for, she's doing whatever she's doing over there. But I agree that I would read it with her because, you know, why not? In my infinite wisdom. I don't know how long this book is. Let's go to Goodreads, shall we? Because we have today to read this book. I say we have today. Erin is saying that she could finish this book on Saturday and like do what she needs to do and everything will be fine. But I'm agreeing to read it for today, which was stupid because I'm going to the movies later. I say later. I guess technically even for me it's still later because I'm going at 11 tomorrow morning. I'm going to watch The Iron Claw because I'm a cultured bitch, which is fine because then on Saturday, tomorrow's Friday, and then on Saturday I'm gonna go see Migration and be a little bit uncultured, and then on Monday I get to go and watch The Color Purple, which I'm actually low key not excited about, only because they put it in like the tiny theater, like where they show the art house films, and not like with the good seats. But that's neither here nor there. But this book is 868 pages. Hate that for me. I have the Kindle version, and I have the audiobook. Both of them were available from one of my libraries, and so of course I had to snag them. I had to snatch them up. Yes, so I have the ebook, I have the audiobook. The audiobook is 39 hours. Even if I were to listen to it at 3 times speed, that would be what, 13? Which is very ambitious. But full disclosure, and this is full disclosure, I was already on crack. Not literally, figuratively, figurative crack. Anyway, and my idea in my head was I'm still waking up early, even though I have to go to work this week because I don't want to get out of the habit of that. So I have my alarm set, and I was going to go on a walk in the morning anyway because I wanted to finish by the book the arc that I started a couple days ago and the Battle of the Labyrinth. And so I think that all of that reading would have totaled up to 13 hours anyway in my mind, like the same number of pages. It would just been over 3 books. And even if it was just by the book and the Battle of the Labyrinth, that would have been close to 600 pages, a little bit over 600 pages, because I think Battle of the Labyrinth is like 350-ish, because the last two Percy Jackson books were a little bit longer. And so I think that in the end, I would have been reading 600 pages anyway, and if reading 600 pages, what is 900 pages? Erin has already started. She is 50 pages in, so I'm not going to start until tomorrow morning when I go on my little walk. I think I'm just going to do... I used to, in like, what was it? It was like in June when I started doing my daily vlogging for the patrons. I started going on like these little nighttime strolls, and it was like really cute or whatever. And I think I'm gonna do it tomorrow morning because it shouldn't be as cold. It's been like pretty nice here. It's been pretty mild winter so far, which I'm not mad at. Not mad at it at all. It is supposed to rain like next weekend, but I can handle that. So that is my goal. My goal is to finish A Day of Fallen Night. Now, if you've been around for any length of time, then you would know that actually this is kind of a throwback because back when Erin and I were first meeting and we were first becoming besties, she was actually part of the buddy read for a prior of the Orange Tree that I was kind of ignoring. And then the group chat was chatting about that book so much that I just kind of added myself in when they had already read like 400 pages of it. And so I finished that book a couple years ago. Erin finished that book earlier this year. And so really, A Day of Fallen Night feels like a full circle moment for our friendship. And so something about it is probably like poetic and it's like very cute. And I'm very much looking forward to it. So Erin and I have done a lot of buddy reading this year. Not all of it has been successful, and I guess in 2024 we're gonna continue the buddy reading, and I guess there'll be more to it in 2024. So make sure that if you are interested in seeing Aaron and I continue to suffer, that you subscribe to the my Patreon. I'm pretty sure it's going to be my $6 tier is where we do our discussions of our buddy reads. So, because it's kind of like the Choices Book Club that is also, yes, if you too have missed the Choices Book Club, it is being brought back, but it's going to be Patreon exclusive. because I cannot be trusted. So it's going to be over there at $6, and it's going to be quarterly. So we're doing it 4 times a year. So if you want to wait and sign up in like April, wait and sign up in April for the discussion for the live show. But the first 2 books will be announced in January because I figured them out today. So love that for me. I think that's all the plugging that I have to do. I'm going to go because I definitely need to get a good night's sleep now. If I'm going to, I should cancel my ticket, but I don't want to cancel my ticket. I want to go see this movie. So I'm going to see this movie and hopefully still finish this book. And I'm still going to call myself a slow reader. So this is another reading a book in a day like a slow reader part 2. Next time you see me, I'll have read or listened or done something with Day of Fallen Night, and hopefully this is a better experience than the sequel that's not necessarily a sequel situation, but we'll see. So this is going to be very short because there is a busy street right there, and I don't like vlogging in public, but I have read 16% of this little it also might be crooked, who knows. Anyway, I've read 16% of Day of Fallen Night. The book is not bad. I just don't care. At this point, in 900 pages, obviously this is still clearly setup material, so I'm not even sure how much of it I'm supposed to be invested in. We have a member of the Priory who has been knocked up by a person outside of the Priory, and that is a problem for the girlies. The girlies are very upset at her. They're like, how could you do this? You know better. Like, you could threaten us. We need to get rid of you. Or you need to get rid of this baby. Like, or maybe both. Maybe you need to have an abortion and we got to kick you out. It's very doing a lot. Then I think it's a different person. I don't think it's the same person who is just found out that they're secretly a royal. So we got the secret royal trope. So they're like, oh my goodness, congratulations, you're going to be used as like a puppet because you're actually older than our current heir, and so and they're not really feeling your daddy, so we're gonna have him form a shadow government far away from the eyes of the kingdom, and you are going to be able to take control. So we got that going on. And then we had this man who has some kind of accent. I want to say Irish in the narrator. And I don't understand why, because literally nobody else in this book has an accent except this man. So it's just like, what was the creative direction there? And he's doing something. Honestly, anytime that accent comes out, I'd be tuning him out. So I'm currently on my way to go see The Iron Claw, which I told you guys last night I was going to see today. So I'm going to go see that. And the same little complex as a Books A Million that has Day of Fallen Night in their little bargain bin section. And for $10, I think I can afford $10. So I'm gonna pick up a physical copy of this because I know I tried reading the ebook last night before bed, and it was like I had dyslexia. I was Percy Jackson, and the letters were swimming, and I said I can't do this. So, and I know I read like physical contact, paper faster than I read on the ebook. So I'm just gonna spend my little $10, use my little Books A Million membership, so it'll actually be $10, and read this physically. So I'm gonna listen as much as I can on my way to the theater, and then at the theater, and on my way home from the theater. So I won't have too much physical reading when I get home, but my goal is still to have this done today. I did not go on my morning walk like I thought I was going to. I just know editing the sound is gonna be annoying, but I did not do that like I wanted to this morning, so hate that for me. But I did start reading around 7-ish, and so like in theory I should be finishing this book around 7-ish, but again, I'm seeing like a 2-hour movie, so that's going to cut into that. So hopefully between me being a slow reader and the audiobook, I'll be able to get this up before 10 o'clock tonight. That's still my deadline. So I think I'll feel accomplished if I can finish it before 10 o'clock tonight and get this video out during its regularly scheduled programming hours and not like scramble to film something else. So I'm gonna go because this clip has gone on for long enough, even though it's only 3 minutes, because I'm sure that the cars have ruined everything. So I'll check in later when I have more thoughts and things are actually happening. Like things are happening, like pieces are being moved into position. It's just, okay. Hello. I am back from my movie. It was fun. It was cute. I say that. It was a really tragic movie, so I shouldn't call it cute, but it was a good time. I feel like Zac Efron has been getting a lot of the attention, and Holt McEnany. I don't remember, but he was on Mindhunter, and like both of them do a good job. But Lily James and Harris Dickinson, they was holding it down. Anyway, I have read an absurd number of pages. I'm on page 282 of A Day of Fallen Night, and Erin has already informed me that she's not finishing this book today. She's not finishing this book today, and so part of me is like, what is the point of me trying to finish this book today? Other than I know if I put this book down, I will never pick it up again. We get so many different characters coming into the story, so many different points of views, and it's like not a bad thing. But Erin said this, I think it was in her Discord, and like the number of times we change perspective makes you think that like more is happening than really is. And it's not that things aren't happening, because stuff is occurring, and like I'm mildly invested, but like I really still don't care. Like I still just do not care about anything that is happening in this book, any of the characters. It's giving like, it's saying this is like a standalone prequel, which I think that that's really the issue here. I feel like Samantha Shannon just really wants to write, and so she's just like writing these words and like putting these sentences together. And sometimes the sentences strung together are kind of, you know, poetic or beautiful, or like have like an interesting turn of phrase in them, which is fine, and I love that for her. But on the whole, it just feels like something that bothers me, doesn't move my spirit. It's very lackluster. It's not giving anything. It's just, you wrote a sentence, write a sentence. And I think that for me, even if this isn't supposed to like directly connect to the Pride of the Orange Tree, because that's also allegedly supposed to be a standalone, writing standalones of this nature that are this long, like what is the point? Because I don't really feel like we're getting anything more of the world in this, just because part of me doesn't want to say that because I read Priori so long ago that anything that was like directly a part of the world over there is like gone out of my head already. But part of me is also just like, I'm reading this, I'm taking it in. And even if you were giving me new information, or we're in different parts of the land mass that exists here, and we're seeing it at a different time, and so like things are slightly different, like ultimately it doesn't matter, it's like a standalone. It doesn't impact allegedly the things that happen later, even though it's on the same landmass with similar belief systems, just earlier in the timeline. So I think that that's also just a problem for me, is that I don't want it to be a standalone anymore. I think if you would like to continue to write, then continue to write. But this just feels like such a throw, and for it to be this goddamn long. Like clearly there is no editor at Bloomsbury. They're not editing Samantha. They're not editing J.K. Rowling. They're not, well, who knows what they're doing over there anymore. But they're not. I meant to say, Sarah J. Maas, like whoever Bloomsbury picks up, like maybe it's because in my mind their roster of authors is like so limited that once they're like, yep, you're one of us, they just stop editing you and they just let you write whatever the fuck you want to write. Like Samantha Shannon also came out with like a 10-year version because she said, actually, my debut was garbage and I want you to read this version instead. Who is doing that? Like, I don't know. So again, like I think that sometimes Samantha Shannon does have a point of view and has something to say, but so much of this doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like we are in the narrowly tailored portion of her having something to say. It's that I'm having to sift through a lot of mumbo jumbo. So I'm like 30% in. I'm about to make some lunch/dinner/breakfast, honestly. Eat, be merry, and then go about my day. I say go about my day. I'm going to have to read a whole lot of this. It's 846 pages. So I have 500 pages left, which isn't honestly that bad. And this isn't very dense. Like for as long as it is, and for being a high fantasy novel, it is accessible. And as Erin was saying in one of her text messages, it is very easy to put this down. Like that's why I have to finish it today. Because if I put it down and I don't finish it, then I will never finish it. And I will have wasted $9.80. So also, just for the girlies out there, because I saw this morning that Mr. Brandy Sandy is out here charging 40. I mean, he's not. His publisher, Tor, is out here charging the girlies 40 American dollars. I think it's like 38 for his Stormlight 5. And this book cost $35. Full retail price. That is insane. I think it was on Book Outlet, like around Black Friday, for cheaper than what I paid, my $9.80 with my Books A Million membership. So I saved 10%. Love that for me. And it was a bargain, so love that for me as well. But these hardback prices are too much. There's no reason for this book to be $28. Yeah, $28. So after tax, it would have cost you $30. And this book to be 35, so after tax, it's going to cost you $40. Like, let's be serious here. Like, let's keep it a buck. But I'm gonna go. Like I said, I'm gonna eat and I'll be back. I was watching Jess Owens' video this morning about like what people are looking for on BookTube. Because if someone else is gonna do the market research, then I will happily see what they're saying. Sometimes I do think that the people who responded to her, and maybe you're in my audience as well, but some of which y'all were putting in their comment section or the question box on Instagram, like clearly don't know how to use a search bar, because there's not one singular thing that just Owens said that people want that people are not doing, and Jess said that as well. But it's just like, come on, y'all, like we're all adults here. Anyway, I know people don't like when you don't get middle of the book updates, but I can tell you for a fact right now that nothing's going to happen between here where I'm at and the end of this book that is going to be worth me cracking out this camera. It is too slow moving and slow paced that even if something exciting did happen, I know when I get to the next chapter, we're just going to kind of brush aside that and we'll eventually circle back to it. So be mad if you want, but you're going to get an end of the book update from me because I don't believe anything in the middle of this book is going to be noteworthy or worth my time coming back to you in the moment. If that does change, then I will do it. I'll break the vow, come and eat some crow. But for now, this is like a cute little, I don't know, if I had paid full price, I would be upset. But for the $10 that I spent, I think I will get $10 worth of enjoyment out of it. So I'm not upset. I think this was still a smart decision because I'm also going to read this physically faster than I'm going to listen to the book. I've been trying to like listen to the audiobook and read the words, but I found myself like reading ahead of the audiobook and there's too many words in my head. So I can't do it. So I'm going to be back. Hopefully, let's see here. It's 4:00 now. That movie did really put me behind, but I'm going to knock it out. I'm going to knock it out. I'm going to knock it out. So I'm going to go. This video is going to be up late. But I'm going to knock out this book. So this is the second worst angle that I've had in this video. But I'm on page 352 at the start of part 3, chapter 42. And I still don't care about anything, but they seem to think that the Nameless One is coming back. And I'm pretty sure that's not the case because the Nameless One came back in Priori. And I feel like that was the first time since he had been sealed away. But if I have to read another climax about the fucking Nameless One, Samantha and I against fisticuffs. I'm sorry, it's above me at that point. Like, there's nothing I can do. Why is this a singular idea? I'm gonna be very honest. I don't know what I did with the dust jacket to my book already. So, maybe I'll throw up the cover. I feel like you guys know what this cover looks like, and it's the only book we're talking about today. So maybe it's not entirely necessary, but it is 8-something. It is 8:56. And I have finished reading A Day of Fallen Night. Now, do I think this is a bad book? Because I feel like that's kind of like what the whole purpose of this video was to be a good friend and to motivate Erin to also finish this book today so she could, put the finishing touches on the little video project. And that didn't happen because I finished and Erin is out living life. So hate that for me, but the book isn't bad. I would compare this book to listening to lo-fi beats. It is a pleasant experience, and there are a couple of things that are going to get stuck in your head, like maybe a melody or like a loop of the lo-fi, but it's not anything substantial. There are a few things that I would assume are connected to Priori. And I say assume because they just kind of feel like, oh, so that's why that kind of happened in the future. But if you had never read Priori and you were just reading this, it would just be kind of like all vibes. Like there is a plot, there things are happening in everybody's perspective. It's just, I don't care. I'm not invested. And it's not that it doesn't matter. It is, I don't think that Samantha Shannon writes the ending of books. I think her books just kind of fizzle out. I think that the ending of Prior the Orange Tree is Twitches because it just has to end. And this one is even more egregious. Like, at least Twitches is like, active participation. This one just kind of, the book is over. Like, there is a thing, and the thing happens, and like there's a rousing speech. I just don't care. Like, this book is so long that I think like two different characters have entire pregnancies over the course of the book. Um, and one character is like born at the beginning and like is one of the people who gives birth later. Like, I don't think we see that entire pregnancy, but I know that that person is like born at the beginning of this book, and in the towards the end, like 700 pages in, that character who was born at the beginning of the book is now giving birth themselves. So it's just like, it's a little ridiculous. This doesn't need to be 800 pages, but at the same time, like, this does not need to be more than a singular book. And so like I understand like threading the needle there could be a little bit tricky, but again, like, this just didn't. I find it hard for this book to exist because even when I read Pride of the Orange Tree and I had all these kind of issues with that book, I don't think that any of them boil down to like, well, why does this happen? Like, why is this even a thing? Like, sure, I might have asked that rhetorically because, like, what are we even doing? But I didn't want serious answers to it. And I feel like that's the only thing that A Day of Fallen Night provides is like serious answers. And then again, just a lot of vibes that are utterly meaningless to me as a reader that I did not care about and I didn't connect to. Maybe if I had gone into this book, I don't know, I'm kind of 50-50 because I've seen people who really love Priori not really like this. And I've seen people love both. And I've seen, I feel like every permutation of, loving this and Priori exists. I don't know. I feel like if you want to start here, go for it. But also you could just start with Prior. Like, one does not like, Shannon is right. And like, one doesn't necessarily impact the other. But I do think that that's kind of like a problem. I do think that's a problem. And I say that as someone who does read, romance a little bit. I dabble my toes, and romance series are often structured similarly, where like reading one doesn't necessarily impact enjoyment of a different book in that same companion series. And so it feels very silly for me to come here and be like, I wish that this book had some kind of impact on the second book when there are series that already exist in the world that are kind of like that. But I do think that a fantasy is inherently different. Like, when I'm reading a romance, like, often those characters they have different jobs. Like, sure, they're part of a similar friend group or a family, but their lives are different outside of that. Here, I find that if you're going to write a book that is so enmeshed in the politics of the world that you created, then I do think that it should have more impact than it ultimately does. And I think the impact should be kind of there before page 600. Like, maybe you can kind of guess at it before page 600, but it doesn't really start to be teased into the narrative until around page 600. And then by 700 pages, like, we're just slapping you in the face in all the ways that this is going to be connected later. And it just feels like a little bit too late at that point. Like, obviously, somebody picked this up because they want to be invested in this world. And I also think that, to be fair, I don't really think that Samantha Shannon's strength lies in actual, I say world building, but I feel like there's a difference between like world building and like description. And I don't know, maybe it's because I ingested it in a singular day. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like super picky and I really want granularity. Because I have this complaint about a lot of fantasy authors is that I feel like the description might be present, but they're describing things I don't care about. And the things that I do care about just feel like they're being left out. And so like I never really had a sense of place in this in a way that I kind of had a sense of place in Priori. And I feel like some of that was lost here because she just assumed that people were going to start with Prior of the Orange Tree. And so like the describing, the setting, the place wasn't as firm here. I don't know. There's something like I say that it's not really fair to say there's no description because oftentimes Samantha Shannon just like constructs a sentence just to construct the sentence, and in that sentence is an allusion to something to help you visualize an aspect of what she is writing. And so I do think that there is like descriptive imagery in the book. I just feel like the descriptive imagery in the book is not used equally. Like we'll have a description of like it's a cold, like the sun is cresting over the frozen fields or whatever, right? It's like you can really picture, okay, we got frozen fields. But then we move into a town or a city and it's just like we're lost in the abyss. I also feel like there's just like a lot of proper nouns thrown at you throughout the course of this book. And listen, I might be a dumb bitch, and I drink my dumb bitch juice religiously. I'm frequently there consuming it. I get new batches and all the time. But I read a lot. I've read fantasy this year. I've read adult fantasy in the past. Like, I'm not new to this. I'm not gonna say that I'm true to this, but like, this isn't my first rodeo. And I just feel like the amount of proper nouns thrown at you repeatedly, and it's just like, yes, there's a glossary, so in theory I could flip. I mean, for a while there, like this morning, like from I would say 6, 7 ish until my movie was at 11:45. So that entire chunk of time when I was just listening to the audiobook, and I mean, I did technically have the ebook checked out, but like I returned it because I knew I wasn't actually going to read it. I said, I'm not actually going to open up my Kindle like this. So for that entire chunk of time, I just had the audiobook, so I can't just flip to the glossary. And then when I did, ultimately purchase a copy, and I do feel like I got my little $10 worth of enjoyment out of this 2-star book. I think they're twins in that way because the book isn't bad. It's just, it's all vibes. Even when I got to that point, I was already, I think it was like 34, 35 chapters in. At that point, I no longer care about a glossary. I also feel like if you really care about people, I do think that glossaries and dramatis personae should be at the beginning of a book. I don't think that should be at the end of a book. I think that should be at the very beginning so people can, I just find it easier there. Because like when you put the shit at the back of the book, oftentimes people just don't want to flip to the back in case they're like spoiling themselves. And so when it's at the back of the book, people are going to read the entire thing before they realize that there was ever a glossary there. And so like, I guess in theory, I could have gone to the dramatis personae and like tabbed all these little proper nouns and looked at the glossary for more proper nouns. I still feel like it was a lot and it was just throwing it at you. I also feel like the naming conventions isn't in this book are not as egregious as other naming conventions that I've seen people review on this on the internet. It was just nothing about this book worked for me. But again, like I hesitate to say that it was bad because I do think that the project of the book, it set out to do something that it ultimately accomplished. I just think that what it set out to do and what it accomplished are not really worthy of your time. So it's not that the book is bad. I just think that I do think that this is not a book with broad appeal, and it's not a book that I would recommend to most people. And honestly, and I say that because I think if you want to read this book, you know it. Like there's nothing that somebody else can tell you about this book that would convince you to read it. I don't think there's anything in this that I'd be like, all that slogging that you're going to do trying to suss out the vibes, like that's really only something that you can do. I can't tell somebody on a vibes-based book if the vibes are right for them. Like they just have to go out and on that limb and hope and pray for themselves. And I will hope and pray with you that it works out for you. So those are all of my thoughts on A Day of Fallen Night. If I had to rank them, I do think that Priori is a little bit better. I feel like there's more in that book that I still remember, like the wild incest twist, the Twitches ending that's again still stuck with me because it's Twitches, and I don't really think there's anything in this book that is like gonna stick with me except maybe the cuckolding because that was a thing, and then maybe like I don't want to call it catfishing, but those are the only two things that I'm going to remember at all from this book. So those are my thoughts on A Day of Fallen Night. I know a lot of people read it because it got like third place, fourth place in the Goodreads Choice Awards. So a lot of people read it this year and a lot of people liked it. So I understand that I'm in the minority, but that's fine. That's fine. So that's how I spent my day. Let me know down in the comments how you spent your day, your Friday before Christmas. I'll see you guys again tomorrow with another video. We're probably going to finish up that lackluster Beauty and the Beast. It'll be a nice reprieve. I might even enjoy that more after having read this. So I'm going to finish that up and maybe finally get to that fourth Percy Jackson book. But I might also just let myself rest and just, not put too much pressure on myself after a day like today. So I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and until next time, bye.